morning. It's May 22nd, 2022, an auspicious day. I don't know why, but let's just go with it. Today I'm going to be reading Francis Bacon and eggs, making eggs, of course. I'm going to be reading Francis Bacon, not making Francis Bacon, and then cooking some eggs because I need breakfast. I'm pretty excited about this. I haven't made one of these in a long time. I recently arrived home from Scotland, and now I'm back in my flat here in Montpelier. Don't even know what town I'm in. And I just decided, you know what, on the first day back, let's make some eggs. Let's read some Francis Bacon. So here we are. I'll turn this light on because it's a nice light. Helps me see my eggs. The episode we're going to read today, the chapter, the epistle, is confusing because I thought that of atheism was XVII. I guess it's XIV. I don't really know. Anyway, it's called Of Superstition. I'll figure out the numbering later, but this is the 17th. Of Superstition. It's made in 1612. It was slightly enlarged in 1625. Don't know how it was enlarged, seeing as how it's only a page and a half. But we're going to get to that. And let's just dive right in and then make some eggs in a second. So, it were better to have no opinion of God at all than such an opinion as is unworthy of him. For the one is unbelief, the other is contumely. And certainly superstition is the reproach of the deity. Contumely is a positive insult, it's a reproach. What Bacon says in this opening sentence seems at first hardly consistent with the language used at the beginning of essay 16. In one he says that credulity is better than atheism. In the other he says that atheism is to have no opinion of God at all. It's not so bad as superstition. So I'm reading the notes here. Doubtless, however, he regards atheism in two separate lights. One, the plain, deliberate, and explicit denial in words of the existence of God, mine. And two, active mental atheism. The other, passive moral atheism, which gives or seems to give acquiescence and consent to atheism by living as if there were no God, or as if we could know nothing about such a being. The former Bacon regards with abhorrence as worse than the worst credulity. The latter says it's not so bad as to have a positive opinion respecting God, which really insults him. It were better to have no opinion of God at all than such an opinion as is unworthy of him. Okay. So it's better to be an atheist than to be someone who just doesn't really know and just lives their life. Well, I don't really see why he has to make a differentiation there, because frankly, I'm not really convinced God exists, and if he did, he's a jerk. So, yeah. Not sure how I feel about this chapter already. As you may have noticed, I'm taking stuff out of my fridge. I recently went to the shop this morning, and I realized, I wanted more stuff in my life, more vegetables. That's going straight to the compost. I have these mushrooms here that are kind of a week old. I wouldn't suggest week-old mushrooms for cooking. But I'm the kind of person who just really likes to use whatever he has at his disposal. So I have here a cast iron, very exciting. I have here eggs. I have some mushrooms and yellow pepper. I think I'm just gonna do a nice mushroom and yellow pepper scramble. That sounds great. Then throw some eggs in. So, to get going with that, let's cut up the mushrooms. Get out a chopping board, very exciting. Here's my yellow pepper. I'm gonna turn this on to like a low heat. Great thing about electric stoves is you don't need to light them. Big fan of that. I'm using a paring knife, which is not the right knife to use, but life's too short and I like the control it gives me. I also need to sharpen it. Very important to get a knife sharpened, which is why I do it once every 3 years, which is just not on. I'm now cutting up the mushrooms. I don't really clean my mushrooms. I figure that the dirt is kind of not going to hurt me, and I'm just pretty lazy. I don't really see the point of cleaning mushrooms. I kind of feel like we should actually have more dirt in our diet because it helps inoculate us against whatever is out there. I'm not saying that the little black compost dirt that they grow mushrooms in is actually going to have good stuff that'll help me have a better life, but in general I tend to wash my food less than other people, which I think gives me a better immune system overall. May also lead to me having too much grit in my diet, ending up with teeth like the ancient Egyptians, worn down by sand and time. But you do what you can in this life. Alright, right, so I've just recycled that. I already have a really nice bit here of just mushrooms and peppers. And I'm just gonna let that heat up. This is already pre-oiled, so I don't need to really add anything, but because this is a special occasion, I'm gonna add this stuff. So what is this? Well, I took the label off because I didn't like it. But you can see it is ghee. I'm just gonna cut some ghee. Ghee is highly clarified butter, which supposedly is better for you. Frankly, I just like it because I'm a huge fan of yak tea. I really like salty, milky tea. And as a result, I'm kind of cargo culting Tibetan food and Indian food. So I just think, oh, ghee. Surely that's better than olive oil. I have no proof of this. It's just something I'm doing. I think it's actually a good amount of mushrooms. I'm gonna put these mushrooms away. I don't need them for now. I have some broccoli in here. Let's cut up some broccoli and fry that too. Also, because this is also a bit old. I bought these 10 days ago, but I'm always of the opinion that if it's not totally rotten, it's probably edible. Like, if it doesn't taste really bad, it probably won't hurt you. Of course, I can't really taste or smell on a good day. Very poorly developed sense of smell, which is in my favor. Lets me have cheaper bills. All right, let's get back to bacon. And certainly superstition is the reproach of the deity. Cool, whatever the fuck that meant. Plutarch saith well to that purpose. Surely, saith he, I had rather a great deal men should say there was no such man at all as Plutarch, than that they should say that there was one Plutarch that would eat his children as soon as they were born. Makes sense. I'd rather, you know, Richard didn't exist than you said that Richard was a jerk. As the poets speak of Saturn, and as the contumely is greater towards men, so the danger is greater towards men. I don't really know why he's bringing up Plutarch. Plutarch was an atheist, right? He didn't believe in God. He was a heathen. Atheism leaves a man to sense, to philosophy, to natural piety, to laws, to reputation. All which may be guides to an outward moral virtue, though religion were not. But superstition dismounts all these, and erecteth an absolute monarchy in the minds of men. I don't really understand what superstition means. I'm gonna look at the notes here. Superstition, literally a standing over, a putting something over and above religion. Adding to religion fears and scruples which degrade it. So he says, because if you're an atheist, you have to be a moral man, because you have to realize there is no God, therefore I must do well. I agree with that. I'm a humanist. But he's saying superstition is like, well, no, I just don't think this is very well reasoned at all. For it makes men wary of themselves as looking no further, and we see the times inclined to atheism, as the times of Augustus Caesar were civil times. But superstition hath been the confusion of many states, and bringeth in the new primum mobile, and that ravisheth all the spheres of government. All right, well, didn't know the spheres of government were ravished. Oh, apparently Plutarch was Greek, not Latin. My bad. I honestly didn't realize that. Danger is greater. Superstition has led to many fearful acts of cruelty. Were not dismount, perturb, civil, tranquil. Yeah, this is just so confusing. I mean, look at this. This is note here. Primum mobile, right? See note 19. Just as the supposed primum mobile was the one source of all the motions of the universe, superstition would be like an opposing force introducing confusion. I think he's saying don't listen to astrologists because they don't really know what they're talking about. Like, honestly, I think that's what he's saying. He's saying, like, people who have a view of the world that doesn't have coherence just make everything kind of topsy-turvy, which I agree with, so that's cool. All right. So the master of superstition is the people. And in all superstition, wise men follow fools. And arguments are fitted to practice in a reversed order. I'm not saying you can't do astrology if you think it's about what comes up for you, because sometimes people are astrologists not because they believe in the movement of the planets influencing their lives, but they believe that by looking at something and being like aware of their own emotions and their own response, they're able to learn more about the world and themselves. I approve of that. I just don't approve of saying that Venus actually has an indication on my life. All right, so the master of superstition is the people. And in all superstition, wise men follow fools, and arguments are fitted to practice in a reverse order. It was gravely said by some of the prelates in the Council of Trent, where the doctrine of the schoolmen bare great sway, that the schoolmen were like astronomers, which did feign eccentrics and epicycles, and such engines of orbs to save the phenomena, though they knew there was no such things. And in like manner, that the schoolmen had framed a number of several intricate axioms and theorems to save the practice of the church. All right, cool. The causes of superstition are pleasing and sensual rites and ceremonies, excessive outward and pharisaical. It's about the Pharisees, anyway. Master superstition is the people. The real origin of superstition is not that common people are deluded and imposed upon them by wished. Not the first place. Arguments for the practice, yeah. Schoolmen, scholastic philosophy. Yeah, philosophy is mixed with. This is actually really interesting because this is reminding me a lot of The Name of the Rose. Basically, he's saying trying to figure things out is really tough, and there's a lot of like Catholics who are very confusing. Causes. In the seventh causes which Bacon enumerates, he seems to have had the view the excess both of the Puritans and the High Church party. Cool. I kind of like Bacon. I kind of like him. Like, he's doing his best here to be like, what's going on? I just wish he wrote in English. Alright, so these things are starting to just turn a bit hot and get a bit crusty. Not crusty, but like, they're starting to sizzle. You may not be familiar. Sometimes I use this as just a knife. I just dig it in with the way that I'm doing this. So here we have the thing. I just threw the broccoli in there. You don't actually need to like cook broccoli. It's like cabbage, right? You can just eat it. Life goes on. You just eat it. So just heating it up and having it sizzle a bit generally works for me. Sometimes you could add some water. That'll do. Basically pan fry stuff. It's a weird thing to do, but it's worked for me in the past. The causes of superstition are pleasing and sensual rites and ceremonies, excessive outward and pharisaical holiness, over great reverence of traditions which cannot but load the church, the stratagems of prelates for their own ambition and lucre. You hear that, Vatican? Yeah, you hear that? The favoring too much of good intentions, which openeth the gate to conceits and novelties. The taking on aim at divine matters by human, which cannot be but breed mixture of imaginations. I have no problem with that. And lastly, barbarous times joined with calamities and disasters. I don't really see how that's a cause of superstition, but okay. Superstition without avail is a deformed thing. For as it addeth deformity to an ape, to be so like a man, so the similitude of superstition to religion makes it the more deformed. Okay. I don't really understand there. So this looks pretty good now. The mushrooms are nice and brown. Everything looks hot. I feel like it needs more oil or ghee or something. Guess I could just add more ghee. That'd be fine. What's it for anyway? What is it go to? Absolutely nothing. This ghee is also very hard. I don't think it should be in the fridge. I think I'm going to take it out of the fridge. Because it's actively difficult. So like, use this. Alright. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take it out of the fridge. I'll just use it as I use it. Alright. I can put this back in the fridge though. These things can go back. So now that I have this vegetables pretty much done to the way I want them, I'm pretty happy with this. They look tasty. I'm gonna add some eggs. And like I said, I'm just gonna do a, I was gonna do a scramble. I think I'm just gonna do sunny side up. Maybe over easy. so here, got you an egg, crack it. So far I've broken 1 out of 1 yolks. Light goes on. Oh, that one's good. Broken 50% of my yolks. 2 eggs or 3? Let's do 3. There we go. I only broke 1/3 of my yolks. The first one. Put these in the sink. I'll put this outside right now. Go take it out. Put these eggs back. And let's take a look at this last paragraph a bit further. And as wholesome meat corrupteth to little worms. Not very appetizing. So good forms and orders corrupt into a number of petty observances. Yes, that's accurate. The more, look at the Benedictines, for Christ's sake. There's superstition in avoiding superstition, when men think to do best if they go furthest from the superstition formerly received. Therefore care would be had that, as it fareth in ill purgings, the good may not be taken away from the bad, which commonly is done when the people is the reformer. So don't go overboard with hating superstition. Just be middle ground. So, okay, that was pretty confusing. I don't really understand what went on here, but you know, that's cool, I guess. I'm gonna add some salt, and then we can read the analysis. Big fan of salt, big fan of pepper. I saw someone a year or 2 ago just adding way too much pepper to her eggs, and I realized that I didn't have to not do that. I could just add as much pepper as I freaking want. So now I'm just adding pepper everywhere, and it's the best. Actually, I'm gonna put this back in the fridge. I feel like it belongs in the fridge. So, okay, analysis of Essay 17. 1. The evil nature of superstition is more impious than atheism, because insulting God is worse than neglecting him. Kinda. Worse for whom? I really don't like God. I really don't like the entire concept of him. I really don't like the entire concept of that thing that people call God. All right. More criminal than atheism because it destroys morality and government. Okay, yeah. I don't really see how superstition destroys morality, or government. Okay. It originates with fools and then is supported by arguments devised by wiser men, like astronomy and scholasticism. It causes rites and ceremonies, Pharisaism. It's Pharisaism. Pharisaism. It's Phariseeism, like the Pharisees, right? Whatever happened to the Pharisees? And tradition, self-seeking, etc. And the concluding remark, superstition is all the more horrible from its resemblance to religion, and avoiding superstition may itself be superstition in another form. Well then, okay, that was the episode on superstition, which I think is just extra stuff. Non-thought-out cosmologies. So that's Francis Bacon. That was written in 1625. That's 400 years ago, which is why it's very difficult to understand what he's talking about, using the language of the English, and the angles, and the sections. My eggs look pretty good. I'm going to flip them, because I actually feel like the scramble might be slightly better. So now they're here. It looks delicious. I could show you. I could show you the eggs. There they are. Good eggs. You know, I'm just gonna put that on a plate. Maybe add some sriracha or mayonnaise or something, and just go to town. And I'm gonna have a good time. I think that's it. It's pretty much done. I can plate it. Let's see if I can plate it real quick. I don't want my eggs to be too dry. So grab the thing. Turn off the stove. Take these out of this cast iron. Really not the best cooking show, let's face it. I mean, it's not like I'm teaching you anything, except that you could just just a waste of server space in this data center in Nevada, but you know, that's okay. I gotta live my life too. I think this could look slightly better, so I'm gonna do something real quick. I have over here some give me a second. This will be nice. I'm cutting up a tomato, which I didn't add in, although I could have. Now I wonder why I didn't. I just want this to look better on my plate than it currently looks. So now I'm cutting up some cheese. Some lovely goat cheese here. I'm just gonna scrape some of that on here. It'll kind of melt, add a little milky flavor, which will be pleasant. And cut up the cheese. And now, although it always smells weird, I think it's important to have some bit of fermented food every day because it helps out the digestion. So I have here some seaweed, which is seaweed kimchi. I know people actually hate this, but I like it. I'm going to ruin my food now by adding ketchup, because I'm just a huge fan of sugary processed things. And this actually looks slightly better than it did. So let me show you my plate of food. This is a no carb, very healthy. Wish I could flip this around, but there we go. Got some tomatoes, got some eggs, got some cheese, got some kimchi. This has been another episode of Francis Bacon and Eggs. That's my dryer, and have a good day. Bye.